All right, welcome back to another. I am your host, Alex Mahaz, and today we have a true expert in the field of talent acquisition and human resources, Casey Winkler. With over a decade of specialized experience, Casey has successfully navigated industries such as artificial intelligence, media, entertainment, and healthcare. As a strategic advisor and building executive teams, Casey has shaped global talent and also built acquisition strategies for Veritone Inc. and played a pivotal role in the process of creation of CBS and Vidicom CBS. Without further ado, let's welcome Casey to the show. How you doing, Casey?
I'm doing well, Alex. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome, and we're glad to dive into your story and your journey. But I want to get right into it. So obviously, you got an extensive experience, talent acquisition. I'm really curious. What were some of those key strategies that you implemented to really ensure cultural fit and performance while you were in the hiring practices?
So definitely a very interesting one in terms of designing what that cultural fit looks like. Of course, it's different for every organization, but also every department within the organization and kind of how that operates. So there's really many ways that we do this. It starts off at the first meeting that you're having with that hiring team, at that intake, really starting to understand what the likes and dislikes of the team are. I think one of the most important strategies that I've implemented in the past for really being able to hone in on that specific culture within each specific division is to have recruitment teams that are actually embedded in the functional areas of an organization. So, for example, at Veritone, one of the things that we did was have our technology recruiters sit in on all of the technology meetings. It was as though they were an extension of that actual technology team. So often recruiters are going out there with just the information that they have from one meeting with the hiring teams and are unable to speak more in more detail about what the actual inner workings of that department look like. So without having a model or way of measuring that, the first step for us is to really embed the recruiters within that particular department, have them understand that look, feel, and touch, and really everything that goes on from the day to day. That is one component that is really crucial for making sure that we're making successful hires within that cultural realm. The second one that we've identified, which is more of a kind of blanket policy in terms of strategy and a bit more high level, is identifying different types of skill sets or capabilities that are specific to the organization. So, for example, at CBS, we had a 6 kind of pillar foundational model that we used to tech out different candidates based on what the kind of general culture was outside at CBS. So outside of the traditional tech focused questions we were asking, there was questions that were really focused around that cultural competencies and how those responses would effectively mend into our particular organization.
Gotcha. I love it. And I like how you included that everybody was a part of that process. It was more of like a team collaborative event, and I think that's so important. Especially when you're going into companies and you're trying to source and find the most top tier candidates, understands the culture. So I love that. And just going off of that, so like obviously we all hear about it, challenges of just like recruiting and really trying to find the top talent in such competitive industries. I'm curious, like how did you approach identifying and attracting candidates in fields like AI and healthcare?
Yeah. So in terms of like talent attraction in general, I think that that's such an important component of talent acquisition that is being more talked about, over the years than it has in the past. But the way that I kind of see it is I really split talent attraction into 4 different pillars. So there's the idea of, 4 pillars of talent attraction. And the first one's quite an interesting one that's really newer to the industry. And that's the idea of programmatic job advertisement. So making sure that there are those targeted advertisements, making sure that we have the brand awareness, and making sure that we have sourcing and engagement. So those are really those 4 key areas. With that, it's making sure that we have the distinctive recruitment, marketing, and advertisement strategies. So Programmatic job advertisement. Well, what does that do? It essentially takes your job description and your job advert and uses an artificial intelligence based programmatic method to put that job out on the right platform at the right time to the right audience to try to garner the largest response possible. Now, we can't do it with just that. Of course, we need to make sure that the brand awareness is there. So how are we going to make sure that we're building that strong employer brand? Showcasing our company culture on social media, managing our reputation through employer review sites, using employee stories, testimonials to really significantly enhance that employer brand. Other ones that are pretty heavily involved too are going to be utilizing SEO and some video marketing campaigns. So really just making sure that those job postings are optimized for search engines, making sure that their visibility is increased, whether it be the LinkedIns of the world or all of the other job sites to just a traditional Google search. And then in addition to that, being able to leverage some sort of video marketing component really allows you to tell the brand story, show individuals that you're forward thinking, that this organization has investments in marketing because that's important to them. And then finally, just making sure that we're participating in those job fairs and career events. From an employer branding standpoint, being in the face of that target audience is more crucial than ever. In a world that has significantly shifted to Zoom, that point of touch and that point of feel and discussion is really becoming more important than ever. So I think by synergistically combining those four pillars, you're really able to create a strong marketing strategy that really leads to great talent attraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, brand awareness is so important. It's so crucial. But people still like that old school method. They like to shake your hand. They want to be in person, and I think it was just so crazy, especially during COVID, and everybody was remote, that you weren't really able to build that one-on-one relationship in person, especially in the recruiting space. So I think that's so important to still go to those fairs and be in front of potential clients and candidates. So but just like your role at Ideal Home Health, I want to touch on that. How did you translate your business goals into talent acquisition success? And can you share a specific example of a time when you were forward thinking and you had that forward thinking mindset, steering into just all the complexities of recruitment?
Absolutely. So in terms of like the business goals and the translations, a lot of what I have done has been creating scalable solutions for organizations with either pre-existing talent acquisition functions or talent acquisition functions that do not exist outside of bringing someone in for an interview and then hiring them through the old school method. So a lot of what we've done, at least foundationally, is set up the opportunity to scale the business and scale the organization. And we are focused on hyper growth in 2024, as I have been in many other organizations. So what does that mean for us? It's first really laying down that foundation. Well, what are the goals? The goal was to grow probably 1.5x in 2024. So my goal was to ensure that we had all of those tools to make it as easy and seamlessly possible to recruit the largest amount of individuals within the organization in the smallest period of time. So what were some of the things that we did for that? The first step was really making sure that we were developing that brand strategy. The second step was making sure that we had the right ATS in place, the right tools, and the right job description. So revamping all of that information. And then kind of third and finally was even a little bit further down the road, thinking about the idea of retention. What are we going to do? We have a lot of working mothers, or we have a lot of early mothers in our workforce. We typically saw ourselves losing talent just because they needed to focus on being a stay-at-home mother or just providing care to their child on a day-to-day basis, and it was conflicting with their roles. Conversely, we also had issues with our more corporate employee base where there were days that they had to call off and they were not able to come in because there were lapses in childcare. So in looking at reviewing all of this data, it was actually almost came out of nowhere to create a childcare stipend, which we partnered with an organization called Tutris. What they do is they provide a web-based application. You can go in, provide the needs of your child, and then select a particular caregiver, the type of facility that you'd like to put that child in. And then to really put our money where our mouth is, we actually now offer a stipend for all new incoming HHAs and PCAs, as well as our corporate employees in different tiered levels, where we offer anywhere from $50 to $200 per month based on your tenure within the organization towards those eligible childcare costs. It's been an incredible program so far, and we've already seen our retention rate skyrocket. And I just say that to say it's not always about the recruiting and the foundation and the business goals translation, but it's about what you do after the hire as well, which is just as important.
Couldn't agree more. And that relationship should carry through, not even just the first 90 days, but like throughout that whole journey of that onboarding and really making sure it's a great fit for that candidate culturally, their skill set. So then it's not really a transactional, deal. So it's really building that relationship. So, but obviously, as like technology is continuing to grow and there's so much innovation going on, what are like some of the most exciting advancements that you've seen in your field, and how are you guys staying ahead of the curve when it just comes to implementing new technology?
So obviously everyone's talking about this idea of artificial intelligence in recruitment. And I love it because I'm constantly someone who has the ability and wantingness to embrace new technologies to really improve the efficiencies throughout any and all processes that we have. But I also think that it's so crucial to understand that we need to leave and have a component of personal interaction in the process. I think that it's going to be more important than ever for us to have those person-to-person touch points versus just because the software is out there, we can have an artificial intelligence robot interview you, ask you the right questions, respond to what your answers are, and dig in a little bit deeper. But how are the candidates going to feel about this? Are they going to feel as though they're just another number in the process and that an organization may not have the time, effort, and or resources to really care about that individual? And that's going to turn a lot of companies off. So when we talk about this idea of using new tools and how we're going to leverage artificial intelligence, I think really the most important and applicable ones will be ones that will improve and streamline the process that will ultimately lead to human interaction. So to me, that's going back to that programmatic job advertisement platform. It's going to the different types of tools that are offered on the applicant tracking systems for AI matching, understanding what the job description is, and creating different types of target lists based on that job description as to who might be the best fit for that role, and then providing them a ranking. So I've been seeing a lot of it in terms of the ideology. At this point in time, it has not been implemented within our process, but I know that the ATSs and a lot of new and upcoming ATSs that are trying to sell to me are actively trying to leverage that type of feature.
And what do you, obviously ATS, application tracking system, what do you look for when, like, let's say you're a new recruiting firm, staffing agency, you're looking to implement an ATS. What are you looking for when you're sitting on these demo calls, and what is like that non-negotiable you should really look for in that tool?
Yeah, so it really depends on the size of the organization and the volume of recruitment that you're going to be doing. But in terms of the functionality and the add-ons, that's really where you're going to see a lot of that's where you want to put more of the emphasis on. What type of calendar scheduling tools are there? Or if there are any type of AI analytics, what type of matching tools do they have? How effective do you find this? How are you going to be providing feedback to the recruitment teams? Are you building out different types of scorecards within that applicant tracking system? Does the ATS allow for that? Can you tag hiring managers on candidates for particular feedback? And really just implementing all of those items in your process. I think the one that's very much overlooked and one that I've been dealing a lot with is the idea of segmented data. So for example, I've worked in many applicant tracking systems in the past, and what you'll see is a way to evaluate certain areas of the TA process that it wants you to evaluate. For example, if you're looking at just something like time to fill, it could pull all those analytics for you on time to fill. But is it also going to be able to pull in time to fill as well as the pass-through rates for those particular jobs? So ideally, you would find one that has all of the functionality you're looking at to streamline the processes and create more efficiencies, and also one that is not segmented in terms of the data that you can extract. And to me, what that really looks like is just an open field to be able to create and move all data that you want into a particular spreadsheet and be able to report and analyze on that to really provide talent insight. So I have not met one that does that yet. I've certainly provided feedback, and I am waiting for the right tool that allows you.
Yeah, well, maybe somebody will listen to this and start implementing it. So, but yeah, I think, streamlining the process and making it, as automated as possible is so important. And really having your data in one spot too. That's something that is so important, regardless of what industry you're in. So, but in terms of, DE plus I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's become such an increasing important just landscape in the workspace today. How do you approach D&I plus initiatives in just talent acquisition? And, what are some impacts that you've seen with just the overall success within organizations?
Yeah. So I've seen organizations have a lot more success within DE&I when they create more of a blanket goal versus very regimented goals that have direct correlation to each individual hire. So I think that DE&I, it's a great message that we're sending to everyone, but we need to really make sure that we're mindful in the ways that we're doing it. To me, I think in a perfect world, at some point one day, you'll be able to, have no name on a resume, have no face to a video, and be able to make a hiring decision purely based off of that. That's the goal down the line. But what I've seen is organizations who set up the foundation that is going to lead to a successful DE&I roadway. And that's really what's most important. It's making sure that you're partnering with the right type of DE&I, whether it be sourcing tools or recruitment firms that you're working with, making sure that the job boards that you're being posted on are hitting all of those DE&I areas that are specific to your industry. But really by having all of those avenues, all of those relationships, and driving all of those candidates through those methods, I think that that's the most successful way to be implementing DE&I policies versus saying we need to hire X amount of this type of person, because I feel like that's almost reverse targeting at that time.
Exactly. Yep. And you don't want it to come off like that either. So yeah, I completely agree. But I want to transition you in terms of just your experience with just media and entertainment. How are you navigating just the unique challenges? Obviously, there's so many challenges within just recruiting, but within entertainment and media, how are you really navigating those challenges on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit since I've been in the M&E space, but when I was there was a lot of changes that were moving forward, and it was really the time where everything was going from traditional linear to OTT. So I had staffed teams that ultimately created, CBS All Access, Showtime Anytime, and we significantly saw the shift from all of these media companies looking to bring in and hire tech individuals, which was quite different than their traditional past. We have engineers in broadcast centers. We have engineers that are on site for all of our facilities, but we're now in direct competition with programmers, developers who are actually going to create these applications. So I think that in moving towards more of that model where we're competing with those tech individuals, what it really took from an initial standpoint was to start benchmarking those salaries, really understand where we are in the space, how we are stacking up, and where we need to be to get the right talent in. There's so much other things going on in the entertainment space right now. I'm sure you've heard a lot about the artificial intelligence replacing writers and things like that. So I think at the end of the day, the organizations that are really going to survive were going to be the ones who stay true to their roots, but also the ones who can connect with the people at a real level. I think that that's going to be more important than ever.
I think that like it's just going back to building that relationship, understanding people's pain points, and being able to really connect and see what they're looking for in terms of entertainment. And I think that's so important. And I think AI, it's definitely a great thing to have, but it also you can take away that relationship side of it. So, but in terms of just like healthcare, I want to touch in your experience with the healthcare sector. Obviously that requires a lot of highly skilled professionals. How do you ensure the ideal home health really attracts and retains top talent in such a competitive industry? And what are some key strategies that you've implemented to really enhance employer branding?
So from an employer branding standpoint, we've implemented a lot. And this is really almost outside of the talent acquisition realm, but really falls so directly within talent acquisition. It's odd. So everything from ensuring that our reviews on sites such as Glassdoor, our reviews on Google being are receiving high accolades, that's really important to us. What we did recently was we implemented True Review as part of our process when we are onboarding new hires. So not only for the new hires, but for the patients that we are working with. The patients are discussing our compassionate care right when we are signing them up for services, and a couple months thereafter, they are asked to provide these reviews for us. So that just starts from the employer branding standpoint. With us, it's also being in the market. It's having marketers who are out there at these community events, who are participating in any types of drives that they possibly can. We're huge on sponsorship. We sponsor a ton of food pantries across the 5 boroughs of Manhattan, of New York. We supplement programs for all different types of community events. And this is what really shows that we're doing good in the field versus just trying to make a profit here and running a business as a numbers game. We really care. We're about bettering the health of employees. We're about bettering the health of patients in the 5 boroughs, and we're about bettering the health of these communities, really. We offer nutritional trainings to these individuals. I'll throw in the Tutris component too, great retention tool. But there are so many different techniques and tactics that we use. I don't know that I could say one is more effective than other, but really at the heart of everything we do here, it's building a brand that is focused on a core value of compassionate care and constantly delivering that to our patients, to our clients, and thus to our communities.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It definitely sounds like, you really are passionate and providing as much value as you can. And it's like that old saying, what goes around comes around, whether, you believe in that or not, it's true. And whether that's in business or in life, the more value you can provide to others, it's going to come back in some way. I love that. But, in terms of, customer focus, I want to, really understand, how you are, ensuring that your business remains customer focused. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but can we just talk, more strategic steps on how are you really, making sure that you're putting your customer or your client first? Is there like a specific roadmap that is in place or some guidelines to really ensure that, the customer is the top priority?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. So a lot of these organizations, especially in the tech world, they'll have teams that are, customer success teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over here, we have something very similar, but it's called something quite different. And those are our care coordination teams. So care coordination teams are the ones that are constantly making sure and speaking on a regular basis to the patients that are within our network. They are making sure that they have constant staffing. If there's a lapse in that care provider coming, they're working around the clock to get someone in there as soon as they possibly can. They're speaking with them to chat with them about their day to day and just make sure everything's okay. They're offering different types of programs that are sponsored by local communities here, especially ones that we have partnerships with, so they can be more involved. And for example, one of our patients expressed a need to. He was, feeling a bit lonely, feeling a little bit isolated, even with his caretaker in there. And we actually introduced him to an organization that has something called the Sharing Network. And it's a phone line. And people get on and they start to talk about the different their different hobbies. So there's ones for individuals who like gardening. There's ones for individuals who like classic rock. We're always looking at ways to constantly keep our patients engaged. We want them to be happy. We want them to be healthy. And in the end of the day, that could translate to a couple referrals here and there too. So we are constantly ensuring that we're providing the highest level of touch points we can, the highest level of resources, whether they're directly from our network within Ideal Home Health or some of the partners that we work for. So we're really trying to create a 360 holistic lifestyle support for them, and they have that day-to-day care with the care coordination team here.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the day-to-day is so important, and that's how you really, really grow and scale an organization, a department. That's awesome. I love that in place for you guys. But in terms of, just like your future outlook, like, where you really see, the plans of the future for your business, let's say, the recruiting, how do you really see it evolving over the years? I mean, we've touched on AI. Is that, something that's going to really speed up the process in a good way, or is it going to, eventually kind of hurt the industry?
Yeah, so I guess just in terms of our business, we have an incredible outlook for our business. We are focusing on strategic partnerships and really hyper growth over the next couple of years. This is going to lay a really strong foundation for us when in the year 2035, individuals who are requiring these types of service are going to almost quadruple. So the market is only going to become even more expansive. And our entire goal is to just educate the people on the types of services that we offer. If we come out of any type of meeting, any type of discussion with one thing, it's not a referral or it's not someone joining our network. It's someone becoming more educated about the different types of products that we're providing, and in turn, them being able to tell others about that too. So talent acquisition in 2024. As everyone who I'm listening is sure, it has been a brutal year and a half in the talent acquisition space. We've seen more layoffs than ever. It is depressing to go on LinkedIn and see the types of posts that we are seeing from our direct similar industry colleagues. First and foremost, my hope is that talent acquisition is really able to bounce back. All of these organizations that laid TA off first are hopefully realizing at this point that maybe they cut a little bit too deep. And we are the lifeline of some organizations. We are that first point of contact. A good experience or a bad experience has a massive impact to the brand. And that starts with talent acquisition and the recruitment teams. So I'm going to say that the most important thing moving forward that AI might lose for organizations if they don't have that, first great impression or first, if so, negative impression. I do think that there are going to be organizations who try to transition fully to an artificial intelligence model. I don't think that it's there yet, but I do think that over the next 2 years, it probably has the opportunity to get to that point. Now, what's that going to be? It really could be me being an AI bot and me asking these types of questions, me synthesizing all of that data and using an artificial intelligence system to summarize that data, providing that information to the hiring team, and then them going through it and making a decision from there. What I think that you lose in that case is that relationship with that recruiter, that person who can come and say to you, hey, I spoke with this guy. His background's not 100% on, but you got to talk to him. Those kind of discussions we're going to lose. Or this person's background was totally spot on, but I don't think anything that they said was true. So I think that there's going to be that human component that is lost by it. And I think that the ones that are going to be most successful are going to figure out how to leverage artificial intelligence to make efficiencies and optimize their processes while also not eliminating that component of human touch.
Definitely. Yep. It's kind of like the balancing act. You gotta kind of take what you can get with it, but not go, full thread, full throttle, because that could, definitely lead to disaster, especially for small, recruitment agencies that are just starting to scale. So, But I want to go into, a couple rapid fire questions, and then I'll leave time to just kind of wrap it up for final remarks. So I got a few questions here. First one is, what do you feel are the key attributes of a successful entrepreneur?
All right. I think it's going to be dedication. I think it's charisma, and I would say grit.
Gotcha. Grit is definitely very important, especially on the days that do not go well, or the years. What's something that you think is important in business but doesn't matter that much?
Oof, that's a good one. This is going to be an unpopular opinion. Where you went to school?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, your real world experience is definitely more valuable in most industries. Last one is, what are the top 3 tips about, business, or let's say, the talent acquisition space that you want our audience and your audience to walk away with tonight?
Yeah. I guess business, I'll say what they all say, find something you love and do it for the rest of your life. In terms of talent acquisition, I would say, be persistent, keep going. Don't ever let something, knock you down or wrong. And if you are knocked down a little bit, just keep moving. It takes one job to change your life, one offer to get you out of a poor situation into something that you've been looking for. Don't stop. Don't ever stop, and continue to build those custom cover letters, write those tailored messages to people on LinkedIn. I know very well that they don't respond too often, but it's better to have done it than to wonder what would have happened had I not done it.
Yep, and I can attest to that too. The more, those cold messages, emails, calling somebody, maybe sending them a letter to their office. Do things that other people aren't willing to do, and that's going to help you stand out. And the more reps you do that, your success will come. I love that. But so where people find you, Casey? What we have coming up, that you're excited about this year, and where can we find you?
Yeah, so Ideal Home Health, we're located in the 5 boroughs of New York, rapidly growing our HHCA and CDPAP services. This year is going to be the year of education for us. We want every single person to know that if you have an elderly parent who's at home, sick, or some sort of extra support around the house, whether it's us finding someone to bring into their home, or it's you as a family member being able to care for that family member and getting paid. That is how we are going to be shifting from an industry standpoint over the next couple of years. So if anyone would like to know more about CDPAP services, HHA services, or services, or even has a elderly parent that they'd like to chat with me about, I'd love to hear it. Connect with me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Casey Winkler. Ideal Home Health.com is our website. We'd love to hear from you. Anyone who reaches out, I'm happy to chat.
Awesome. And I'm really excited, to see, the next couple of years of how you're really going to be able to grow Ideal Home Health and really provide, just the great, services that you do to help families. So, but other than that, it was great talking to you, Casey. I really enjoyed, learning your stories, and I took a bunch of notes, and I know our audiences too. They're going to go back and watch this. So
excellent. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak to you and to the audience. Would love to be invited back at some point. So I really appreciate your time and hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Casey. And this is another episode of Scaling Secrets Podcast. Till next time, guys. Take care.
Thank you.